If I could have your attention, now that Jim Limbo has arrived, I think we can get started. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Connellsville Area Falcon Foundation, it's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the Connellsville Area Career and Technical Center. I thank you for being here as we honor 6 very accomplished and deserving people by placing them in the Connellsville Area School District Hall of Fame. In 2010, the Falcon Foundation decided to start a Hall of Fame with the following objectives. Number 1, to celebrate the wonderful history of the Connellsville area, including the old Dunbar Township School District. Secondly, to stir up some local pride, which unfortunately isn't as prevalent as it once was. It's obviously appropriate to recognize outstanding people, and we enjoy doing that. But perhaps most importantly, through our Hall of Fame display at Connellsville High School, it's our hope that our young people would learn from some of the people that we choose into this Hall of Fame, and perhaps follow in the footsteps of some of these wonderful people that we recognize. This afternoon we recognize our 10th class, and it brings us to a total of 74 honorees since 2010. I just wanted to mention this. If you go to the Connellsville Area School District website, or just Google Connellsville Area School District, you'll easily find a link that says Falcon Foundation. Once you click on Falcon Foundation, you'll come to a link that says Hall of Fame, and it has the years listed. Click on the year, there will be a picture and a small summary of everyone who has been selected into our Hall of Fame down through the years. And I want to thank Kevin Ghost, our district's technology director, for the effort he made last year to bring that about. Before we get on to our main order of business for the evening, I'd like to introduce our superintendent of schools, Mr. Joseph Bradley, who'd like to share a few words with us. This is his second year with the Connellsville Area School District, and I know what he's going to tell you. He's going to tell you his first year was a snap, and the second year proves going to be even easier than the first year. So we'll turn it over to Mr. Bradley.
Well, thank you all, and thank you, Mr. McGlucky. This event really holds a special place in my heart. It was my second day, I believe, when I came and was invited to this event and to speak to everyone. And the way that this group in particular made me feel welcome and my family feel welcome made me 100% confident that it was the right decision in my career to become a Falcon. So I thank you, and I hope many more of these to come, because I want to thank the Falcon Foundation. This organization, the way that you team with the district and our board of school directors is really first class. It provides our students opportunities for extension of what we do in the classroom and extension what we do outside of the classroom that might not be possible, including this event. This event is a learning lab for Chef Rosensteel and his students, and you'll experience, like you've done every year for the last 10 years, the quality that they've turned around. These students have turned this around in 8 days, 8 full school days. It's just outstandingly impressive to me, and they're putting themselves in the front of the line when we talk about career readiness. So these students in this building, they're not only saying, hey, I have this degree, this certificate, this object that makes me a good employee, they're putting themselves in front of the line by hosting events like this. So I thank the Falcon Foundation. Another event, real quick this year, that we're very proud of is we're having a balloon launch that most likely wouldn't have been made possible without the coordination with Mr. McGlucky and the Falcon Foundation. It's going to be a science weather balloon launch, and look for it. We're going to be advertising it. We have press that's going to be cross-curricular. So we're hoping to really have an engaging activity that's science related and really engages our students in our learning process, again, made possible by the Falcon Foundation. To the honorees, congratulations and thank you. when I look at this list of honorees and for the last 9 years, I'm impressed by two things. One, the amount and success you had while a student. It's not a coincidence that these individuals succeeded in the classroom, they succeeded in the arts, and they succeeded in other extracurriculars, whether they're student council, athletics, the whole realm and gamut of extracurriculars. They took those successes and they went out in the real world and succeeded even more in an even broader scope of achievement. To me, as a superintendent, and to me as an educator, and often if I'm on vacation, someone says, hey, what do you do? I say, I'm a teacher. It's just so much easier because that's where my heart is. To me as a teacher, those successes build the foundation and set the model for not only the students, right? We want the students to say, hey, I want to be like that. I want to be that person that was successful on the football field, on the wrestling mat, and then successful in a private business. We want the students to say that, but we also want your teachers, your aides, your classroom support, your principals, your superintendent to say, that's the kind of man, that's the kind of woman, that's the kind of person I want to be, where they're successful all around. And that's the foundation that these honorees have laid for us as Falcons. So I thank you. I thank the board. We have a robust membership of our board. They're active. Our board is active and they're involved and they know our district and I love it. And they show up events like this to honor our graduates. So when the board, the district, and then the Falcon Foundation all join together, we're unstoppable. We're a great place to be, and I thank each one of you. On behalf of myself and on the other administrative team, including I brought Dr. Jacob with me tonight. She was a great addition. She wasn't here last year. She was a great addition to our team. We're going to excuse ourselves to head down to the stadium to get ready for tonight's on-field festivities and to make sure that everything's in line for the induction into the Hall of Fame. So again, thank you. Enjoy tonight and congratulations. And lastly, go Falcons.
Mr. Bradley had mentioned about the balloon launch program, and I'd just like to give credit where credit's due. Falcon Foundation is classified as a charitable organization that can take EITC contributions from companies. And Mid-Penn Bank of Connellsville, which was the former Scottdale Bank, made a large contribution that made that weather launch program available. We're really looking forward to seeing how that works out for us. I'd like to just give you a little more information about the Falcon Foundation. You know, we do some fundraising. One of the things we do is we make small grants available to our teachers, usually more towards the second semester when funds are a little bit harder to come by in the school district. But we give grants up to $300 to teachers who have creative ideas that they want to put into practice within their classrooms. We gave 3 scholarships last year at graduation, and the criteria for our scholarships: school and community service. We named them the Kenny James Memorial Scholarship after our longtime president. Kenny James was just the epitome of school and community service, and so that's a way that we give some money to students going away to college and at the same time honor him as well. Now, before we introduce our honorees for today, and we want to do that even before we eat, and then we'll talk a little more than after dinner, I'd like to recognize some past honorees that we have with us this evening. First of all, from our class of 2010, we have Mr. Tom Sankovich. Sank takes pride in being the captain of the University of Maryland football team. And of course, he was one of the great coaches in the Connellsville School District, going back to the Dunbar days. Football, basketball, and probably his signature achievement was the 1989 state championship in baseball. Now, class of 2012, we have Mr. Henry Opperman. If there's anything better than being the captain of the Maryland football team, it's being the captain of the Penn State football team. And you know, when you talk at events like this, you like to come up with little bits of trivia. I looked up who won the 1960 Penn State Maryland football game. Sank playing for Maryland, Henry captain of the Penn State football team. As a Nittany Lion fan, Penn State 28, Maryland 9. I heard they pushed the defensive line for Maryland all over the place the whole game. All fairness to Sank. After Henry was gone, he had nothing to do with it. 1961, Maryland 21, Penn State 17. Henry's just been a great citizen of Connellsville ever since his Penn State days. He still has connections up there, but been a wonderful businessman in Connellsville, involved with the Boy Scouts of America, just a great person. Unfortunately, from the class of 2014, we expected Hal Waitman to be here, and Hal is just not doing well. He has a serious problem with his leg. It just makes it very, very difficult. He's probably going to have surgery. But Hal was another one of our great coaches, coached basketball, swimming, and coached golf, and had championship teams in all three sports. Class of 2016, Mr. Jim Limbo. He was our transportation director for years, and he was our athletic director for years. And it's interesting, now that he's retired, he's driving a school bus. And he's back to coaching football, which he used to do with the Bullskin. Well, actually, it's a Connellsville Booster League football team. It's a little bit different setup. But Jim was a great coach back in the 70s and 80s. And a lot of the success that we had in track, basketball, football on the high school level was largely attributable to the junior high teams that he had at Junior High East during that time. Also from the class of 2016, we have Mr. Art Mcgann. Very popular choice. One of the real prominent people in Connellsville. He served during the Second World War. He was a gunner on a B-24 bomber in the Pacific, flew 43 combat missions, almost got killed in an airplane crash. After the war, come back, married his sweetheart, and they've been married now for 73 years. And Dorothy just celebrated her 95th birthday. From the same era, we have Alan Q. Jones, and Alan served during World War II in Europe as part of a tank brigade. After the war, he worked for the school district as a teacher and a coach, but he's been involved in the VFW his whole life, on the local, state, and even national level. And you may have heard about him. He got for his 95th birthday, a trip to the White House, met with President Trump. And of course, I have to mention White Nancy as well. They've been married 69 years. I know I get carried away sometimes. When I look at Alan Q. Jones, wife Nancy, I look at Art Mcgann, wife Dorothy, I think of the book written by Tom Brokaw, America's Greatest Generation, born in the 20s, raised during the Depression in the 30s, and went to war in a war that we could not lose. And those four people are like a picture of America's Greatest Generation. From the class of 2017, we have Miss Marilyn Weaver. Another quick history lesson. This past summer was the 50th anniversary of the United States landing on the moon. She worked for NASA out of the Ohio division, and you may have seen an article in the paper where she was interviewed. However, her signature contribution in her life has been as a volunteer director for the Wesley Healthcare Center in Connellsville, a free healthcare clinic available to people with no insurance or people whose insurance has such high deductibles they can't afford to pay it. She does a lot of work raising money, a lot of work trying to make connections with hospitals and other healthcare facilities to make sure that these people get the services they need. And then last but not least, Tony Polidore from last year, 2018. Now Tony's saying, why would you ever put me in the Hall of Fame? When Hal Waitman came to Connellsville in 1966, he formed a basketball organization, usually his parents. But Tony liked basketball and he showed up and he got involved. A few years later, Jim Shabandi is the coach. It's a different coach. Tony's still part of the organization. Jump ahead 20 years, Bill Swan's the coach. Different players, different coach. Tony's still involved with that organization. After Bill leaves and goes to Hempfield, Nick Bosnick becomes our coach. After that, Andy Hedrick. Different players, different coaches, different section, different opposition. One constant of the Connellsville basketball program since 1966 has been Tony Polidore, has been a part of that organization. And if you go to a game, you'll see him selling them 50-50 tickets. Tony Polidore. Now I'd just like to quickly introduce today's honorees, and as I said, we'll talk a little more after we eat. First of all, we have Kal Cunha, Connellsville Area High School, 1974. In the area of music and theater. Somebody who contributed so much to the school district and continues to do so in the community. She has the distinction of being nominated by the most people of anybody that was ever nominated into this Hall of Fame. Her daughters, Tessa and Caitlin, fellow teachers, a number of her students, a number of her parents. I'd give the names, but there's too many of them, we don't have the time. Okay, secondly, we have Bob Galasso, former professional baseball player. Bob was nominated by Tom Sankovich. He's still pouting because I said about Penn State. And I also got to give a nod to my friend Dick Marr, who provided a lot of information about Bob's background. Bob graduated from Connellsville Area High School in 1969. Next we have Benton Hess. Benton Hess also in the area of music. He's a conductor, a composer, a pianist, a teacher, and his music career has taken him all over the world. This summer, he was in, he went to Israel, came home, just got back from Brazil, and he is going to be going to Lithuania next. He's also in bad health, and he said he does not get assistance to just make personal trips, so he wasn't able to be here today. I want to introduce the person who nominated him, Miss Judy Keller, who will also speak on behalf of Benton. Judy's quite a historian, as well as being a former teacher in the Connellsville Area School District. This makes 4 people that she has nominated, including Hank, that have now been chosen into our Hall of Fame. Okay, next we have Mr. Ross Hershey. Dunbar Township High School class in 1950, and goes to Indiana University of Pennsylvania. From there, he ends up in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. When I think about Ross Hershey, it always makes me think of Jim Creek. Because Jim Creek, and we all know how he gave such detailed reports on various games played. High school games, JV games, junior high games, but we always knew what was going on in Coatesville and what was going on with the Silver Fox out there and the record that he attained at that particular high school. Now, I'm not going to give anybody's name away. He graduated graduated in 1950. So do the math. He has retired from Coatesville, but to this day continues to teach. Master teacher, master coach, Ross Hershey. Ross was nominated by Tony Schiavone, the former Tony DeMarco, my next door neighbor when I was growing up. Her claim to fame, head cheerleader, Connellsville Cokers, 1957. And last but not least, next we have Army Specialist Brian M. Sheath. Brian unfortunately passed away 3 weeks ago. And we're going to talk about the Silver Star that he won. He is represented today by his brother, Eric Sheath. Eric, if you would stand. Brian was nominated by his father, Alvin. Many of us in the district remember Alvin. He passed away a couple of years ago, and also his wife, Deese, more recently. But I want to say something about Eric. His brother is being honored for something that happened to him in Iraq. Eric is in charge of our ROTC program here at Connellsville High School. He also had 4 tours of duty in Iraq. And last but not least, William H. Swan Jr., Connellsville High School class of 1960. Friend to everybody, businessman, food distributor specialist down at the Connellsville Community Ministry, former Coker athlete. There's a lot of things you could say about Bill. And after dinner, we'll spend some time with that. He's represented today by wife Andrea and a lot of other Swans here. Nominated by Kelly and on behalf of all the Swan children, Bill, Amy, and Tim. So that's the class of 2019, and after dinner we'll talk a little more about them and hear from them. Falcon Foundation is very proud to honor these people. Now we'll have Andrea come forward and give us the blessing, and then we'll have the food service program here at the Career Technical Center tell us what to do next. Andrea?
Thanks, buddy. Would you please bow your heads? Dear Heavenly Father, we come here today to praise you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for this beautiful day, and we're able to be here. And we are also so thankful for the 6 honorees that dedicated their lives to others. Kal Cunha, Bobby Glasso, Benton Hess, Ross Hershey, Brian Sheets, and Bill Swan. You know, God, we know that what we are is your gift to us, and what we become is our gift back to you. We also want to thank Mr. Rosenstiel and that wonderful culinary class that he has. It's unbelievable in 2 weeks that they can pull this dinner off, and we praise them and we're so grateful for them. You know, everybody that we thanked, it all pertains to one thing, that they have given of themselves to others. And that is just the way we need to live. When you think of how we need to live our lives, we think of the word joy. J-O-Y. We put Jesus first, we put yourself last, and others in between. And that's how we need to lead our lives, to remember to always put Jesus first. We ask you to bless this food, that it will nourish our bodies and give us the strength that we need to always work for others and to remember to put Jesus first. Amen.
First of all, Mr. Rosenstiel, could you just have the kids line up and when we first did this in 2010, we weren't sure where we wanted to go as far as to have our dinner. And somebody said, why don't you just go up to the Career Technical Center and have the students in the foods program take care of it. And so that's what we did. And we were very happy then, and we've been happy ever since. And so, can we just give the kids a round of applause? Mr. Rosen still takes a lot of pride in what he does, and he instills that pride in his kids. The second group I want to recognize are something Bill Swan started way back when, was to have the classic cars take us down to the stadium. We'll have a police escort lead us, get us across town quickly down to the stadium so we can be recognized before the game. But I'd like to recognize the people that are involved with this. First of all, we have Mr. Vaughn McDivitt, been doing it since the beginning. Been a supporter of our Falcon Foundation too, and we appreciate that. Good friend Kenny Metzger. Bill Coleman. Bill's the only one of the drivers that charges us for gas mileage. We have Mr. and Mrs. Colburn. I'm sorry I don't have the first name, but appreciate you being here. And Jack Hand. And last but not least, Brian Suter. We really appreciate what they do for us. We have a record to set tonight. We have 6 school board members here. If anybody has a proposal, we'll get it voted on and get it passed. I don't know if we could get a quorum to agree on it, but we do appreciate them being here, and we appreciate what they do. It's a thankless job. Mr. Michael Maddock, wife Josie. Mr. Fran Mongel, wife Barb. Mr. Dave Martre, wife Wanda. Mr. Don Granado, wife Kathy. Mr. Kevin Lake, and Mr. Paul Harshman. Paul was also a longtime member of our Falcon Foundation, and Kevin and Franny, I think they've been on the school board for about 30 years now. And we appreciate what they do. Not questions. And I'd already mentioned about Kevin Ghost and what he did with respect to the putting the Falcon Foundation on our website, but he's our technical director within the school district, and we appreciate Kevin. And I think Laura Jacobs, she did leave with Mr. J. Okay. I want to thank Rick Fight from Armstrong Cable. Rick, when will this be shown? Week after next. Okay, it'll be on Channel 20, Armstrong Station. Joe Abramowitz, is Joe here? Okay, Joe's here from the Courier. Appreciate his coverage, and also Susan Lewis from Crossroads Magazine. Thank you for being here. And I'm just going to say this about our Falcon Foundation members. I won't ask them to stand or anything. Our organization basically consists of people, former employees of the district, thankful for the opportunity that we were given through the years, and it's just an opportunity for us to give something back, and we enjoy having that opportunity. And with that, we're going to get started with our program. A little bit of time pressure. It's 1:15. We have about 55 minutes to work with, because we need to be in our cars at 1:15 on our way to the stadium. When we get to the stadium, we'll be left off near the south end zone. Short distance walk to the 50-yard line. Once everybody's in place, they'll use basically a little bit of information from your plaque to announce to the crowd. It'll be well received. Then you can go to your seats. If anybody needs to come back here to get their car afterwards, I will be nearby, happy to come and get you. So without further ado, I'm going to call on Kenny Washington, who will talk about Brian Sheets.
Thank you, Bob. Never fails. Whenever I attend any kind of event with Bob, I always have to follow him after he speaks. Worst thing in the world for me, but I'll do my best. In 1979, 1980, I was entering my 6th year of teaching, and Brian Sheets was entering 9th grade. Since then, much has happened in Brian's life. He was a member of the Connellsville High School graduation class of 1983. In 1988, Brian enlisted in the Army National Guard. He earned a BS degree in Administration of Justice from Penn State and an associate degree in Culinary Arts from Westmoreland County Community College. He worked as a chef and later was employed by the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections until his injury in Iraq. Brian received a Silver Star as well as a Purple Heart during Operation Iraqi Freedom on February 27, 2006. I cannot describe his gallantry any better than the words on the citation he received from his commanding officer, and I quote, "Specialist Sheets' heroic actions and selfless service during combat operations saved his fellow soldiers' lives as he was wounded. His undaunted concern for his comrades at the cost of permanent injury to himself was above and beyond the call of duty. The grenade was thrown inside the tank, which threatened the safety of the entire crew. The loader, Specialist Sheets, quickly grabbed it and positioned himself between the grenade and the crew and proceeded to throw it out of the loader's hatch. As he threw it out of the turret, the grenade exploded and shrapnel lacerated his hand and face. Specialist Sheets' bold action, gallant fighting spirit, and loyal devotion to duty was instrumental in saving his comrades from injury or possible death, thereby upholding the highest tradition of the United States Army," end quote. Brian was nominated for this award by his parents, Alvin and Denise Sheets. My son is currently an Army National Guardsman serving in Poland. In him, I can see the sacrifices made by all members of the military, and I personally thank Brian for his devotion to duty and his heroism. Here to tell us about Brian's life is his brother, Eric Bubba Sheets.
How am I going to get?
Thank you. Well, some of you, I appreciate the opportunity to come here and represent my brother. But the best thing I can tell you is that when I got word that he was wounded, I had 25 years of service in 4 combat tours myself. And I had just come back from my 3rd tour in combat when I had received word from Denise that Brian had been wounded. And since I'm in the medical field myself, I'm a colonel with the, at the time, let's see, that time I was with the 1st MedCom out of Atlanta, Georgia. I was active duty. I did it every day. So I contacted a few of my friends, and I was trying to locate where my brother was, and he was in Longstool, Germany. And I really appreciated, what the doctors had done for him. And it's amazing because I don't know, like maybe Bill Coleman, you might remember, maybe Mr. Bear. I don't think Brian ever moved fast in his life. So for me to, I'm like, you're serious? That's my brother did that? That was amazing. I was like really impressed. So God bless him. God bless everybody here. And this is such a great opportunity. The food's been wonderful. The teaching staff has been great. This is my 2nd year here, and I'm just having a ball, having a good time teaching the kids. God bless everybody. Have a good time.
Eric has to get down to the stadium, and so he'll be leaving us. But thank you very much, Eric, for being here on behalf of your brother. Okay, at this time, I'm going to have Jane Sandusky come forward and talk about Kal Cunha.
Thank you, Bob. It really is a privilege for me to come this evening to introduce our next honoree, Kal Cunha, because I've known Gail personally for many years. She's been both a co-worker and a friend, and I've enjoyed our times together. And when I think of Gail, it was hard for me to come up with an introduction, so I have to admit, Gail, I wrote a lot of it so I wouldn't forget. Because there's so many things I could say, but when I thought of Gail, all these words just start popping in your mind, like creative, innovative, passionate, strong, joyful, talented, kind, inspiring, and I could go on and on and on. But another phrase that came to my mind I heard many, many years ago, and I think it describes Gail perfectly in the nicest way possible. She's a velvet steamroller. She's the kind of person that she knows what she wants and she knows what needs to be done, and in her nice velvety way, she's going to get it accomplished. For Gail, her first and foremost passion is for her husband Vince and their 3 children, BJ, Tessa, and Caitlin. But Gail's circle is much larger than that. It includes countless children and adults who have come into her life through her teaching, her love of music, and her love of theater. And I have seen Gail work that magic on her students. To them, she is like the Pied Piper. They love her, and they would follow and did follow her anywhere that she was willing to take them. And that is true no matter what venue or project she is directing. For example, Seagley. I see Gail working with adults who, in all honesty, probably never got an opportunity in their younger years to sing or dance or create. And through her work with Seagley recently now, these people are knowing the joy of doing that. Thanks to you and what you're doing, Gail, and I commend you so much on that. No matter what she does, people are engaged, they're excited, and they're inspired by her passion. And Gail is always reinventing herself. She's not really content just to sit still. And I think it's wonderful because in our world we need constants, and then I think we also need challenges. And Gail's one of those people that she'll be a constant for a while, and then she's got to be a challenge. And I love that about her. She gives her all to whatever she's doing, and then when she's satisfied with it, she looks to see where maybe she could expand or explore a new area altogether. And I'm going to close with this quote that I read that Steve Jobs was quoted as saying, and I think it just suits this completely. He said, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and your intuition." Kal Cunha has done exactly that, and I, for one, can't wait to see where her path takes her next. Kal Cunha.
Thank you, Jane. That was absolutely sweet. I want to thank the Falcon Foundation for this very storied moment in my life. And this moment is not about me. So here are the curtain calls. In supporting roles, Clifford Pritz, John Sloan, Terry Culver, Tom Walters, Ron Slim Scott, Tom Hoke, Judy Davidson Takeoch, Blakely Harelko, Billy Pritz, Diane Ratai, Charles Geyer, Andrea Swan, Steve Komazak, Nancy Price, Bill Baer, Kathy Gerke, Carol Gilroy, Vince DiPaolo, Jerry Brown, Amy Rummel, Merle Stutzman, Charles Casband, Bo Harrington, Kenny Washington, Robert McGlucky, Tim Martin, Kelly Herman, Megan Collins, Angie Michaud, Mike Torek, Jane Joseph, Beth Pavlik, Dan Lujetic, Andrew Sparks, Jim Mickey, Becky Routson, Jane Sandusky, Barbara Wambacher, Jessamine Cuneo, Jerry Matthews, Kenneth Janes, PJ Cart, Justa Barron, Randy Breakiron, Mary Drelizak, Marcy Witt, Harry Heisterman, Allison Domer, Solly Gambone, Terry Paczynski, Kayla Petronell, Robert McGlucky, Linda Collis, Roxanne Yunkin, Gretchen Mundorf, Carol Gilmarin, Marilee McFadden, Denise Stewart, Jennifer Martin, Dawn Michalko. Could you give a round of applause to my supporting roles, please? In leading roles, Cheryl, Donna, Jeff, Keith, Kim, Dan Kublik, my siblings, Cynthia Irwin Kublik, Vincent and Agnes Cuneo, the Mcgann family, the Komazak family, the Pavlik family, the Weigel family, the Mundorf family, Margie Hodge, and my beloved furry friends, Kona and Bambino. My crew, Vince, love you dear, BJ, Caitlin, Tessa, Garrett Rosenboom, Tessa's new husband. And my director, Violet Province Kubelin. She's watching over me. Could you give a round of applause to my leading roles and my director? And most importantly, the following cast: the students of Dunbar Borough Elementary, the students of Southside Elementary, the students of Dunbar Township Elementary, the students of Springfield Elementary, the students of then Salt Lake Elementary, the students of then Junior High East, and finally Connellsville High School, especially the graduating class of 2016. The students of the Cunha Studio and the performers of Seekley. Thank you for this honor. I have enjoyed every performance.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Gil. I'm going to handle the next honoree, and I'll tell you what to do. You were given a booklet that pretty much has a picture of each plaque, and so refer to Bobby Galasso's plaque. Bobby's a Major League Baseball player from 1977 to 1981, pitching for the Milwaukee Brewers and the Cincinnati Mariners. This year he was chosen into the Fayette County Sports Hall of Fame, as well as being chosen into the Connellsville Falcon School District Hall of Fame. As you go down the plaque, you can see he earned a business degree from Robert Morris, and then we have kind of a listing of his career. He's not one of these guys that out of high school signed a huge contract. All of a sudden, it's up in the major leagues in no time, spent 20 years, 300 wins, and 10,000 strikeouts, anything like that. He had a long and diverse career, but let's start with Connellsville. 1963-64, he was part of 2 Little League state championships. How well I remember that. I think we almost made it to Williamsport. One more win could have been at Williamsport. Then Legion baseball in the 60s, and so many good players: Bobby Baylor, Freddie Norton, Les Hart, Jim Braxton. The teams that Connellsville had at that time were not good teams; they were great teams, and every year, deep into the state playoffs. Now, if you get down a little further, you can see that in 1969 he signed a professional contract and reported to the Rookie League at Bluefield, West Virginia. From there, he went to Class A the following year and Class AA after that. Had a big year in 1976 at Rochester, AAA. Part of a championship team, had a 13-5 record. And that record then, of course, I think was what bolstered him the following year to go to the big leagues. Now you get down to the bottom a little bit, and you can see a couple of things that are special with him. In 1979, he had 3 3-inning saves. And we know that relief pitching, especially late in the game, is such a big part of baseball anymore. And you think about going 3 innings, throwing hard, and game under pressure. That was something Bobby holds very dear to him. Also, kind of a trivia question you could throw out sometime. Who won the longest game ever played at Fenway Park in Boston? Connellsville, Bobby Galasso. It was so long, into the 20-some innings, that it was halted and then continued the following day, and finally Bobby picked up the win. What was the final score, Bob?
I think it was 4-3.
4-3.
We got pitched 9 innings in relief in the middle of the game.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and I never knew this till Dick brought it to my attention, that Bob, after his career in the major leagues, he played in a pro old timers league down in the South. Then he went to Italy. And what was the name of the city? Okay, I can't pronounce it, but you all heard it. But he had a 16-1 record and led that city to the Italian championship. And he really became a hero in that city. Probably one of the best thrills that you had throughout your whole career.
It was a nice way to finish.
And then we just, I want to just talk just a minute about hearing him speak this past June at the Fayette County Hall of Fame dinner. Bobby Galasso is a very, very humble individual. He's one, he doesn't think he deserves this. And it spells out very quickly in what he says. Very humble. Very, very thankful. The job he did of naming people from his days in Connellsville that helped him attain a professional career. And then the other thing that I really so thoroughly enjoyed was just him reminiscing about growing up in Connellsville and what that meant to him and how he took that everywhere that he went. I'll call him up here in just a second. I just want to say this. Again, he's one that, why would they put me in the Fayette County Hall of Fame? And why would I be in the Connellsville School District's Hall of Fame? A couple of us had a discussion. How many professional athletes have we had from Connellsville? We've had a lot of good athletes, a lot of good teams. We've had some kids play Division I here and there. We've had some others that, good players. Jim Braxton, I think Bo Scott. Okay, we go back a little further. Jim Cunningham for a short period with the Washington Redskins. Wilbur Scott, Bo's brother, short time with Philadelphia. We can go back to Johnny Lou Jack. Dick was telling me the other day he thought that Gary Piniella had a short stint with the Steelers. Baseball-wise, Bobby Baylor didn't graduate from our high school, but he's certainly well known in our community. Had a wonderful career in Major League Baseball. And Art Mcgann, my buddy Art Mcgann, came up with the name Eugene Hasson, 1937-38, played 2 years with the Philadelphia Athletics, batted .293 with 4 home runs and 26 RBIs. And there's a couple others, names I can't even pronounce, from way back when. And that's about it. So Bobby, you being a major leaguer is a big deal. And you always conducting yourself the way you do and representing our community the way you have in many, many places, that's a big deal. And you deserve to be in this Hall of Fame. Don't squeeze too hard.
There are awards, and then there's an award. When you're given the gift of being honored by your hometown, and in particular, my high school. I wish everybody out there could feel what I feel right now, the chill going down my neck, the hair on the back of my neck standing up. I have a little message and a key word as I was thinking tonight what to say, because I want this to be shorter than the emotional speech that I gave for the Fayette County Hall of Fame. I want to touch on public school systems and in particular this school district. This was a good school district to be part of when I was a kid. And I look back now, those teachers are a lot smarter than what I thought they were when I was in high school, middle school, and junior high. I grew up in this school district, I believe, when teachers were very professional and went a little extra mile in caring for their kids, making sure that they grew emotionally, socially, and academically. I want to thank them, and I wish that I could name about 12 of them that could be here tonight, that some of those teachers meant that much to me. My little key word that I want to leave with you tonight, because it has been documented on my feelings about growing up in Connellsville and the other little talk that I gave, but the key word I want to give to you tonight is proper humility. I'm not talking about the humility that kind of is false. I'm not talking about taking the field and not feeling like you can win and you're ready to challenge the opposition, whatever sport it is. and believing in yourself. But I'm talking about the humility that you get from growing up in a town where you saw how other people conducted themselves before you, and that's the way you conducted yourself. And I really believe the best description is proper humility. And I'm going to close by saying this. I have one regret, and that is I left here when I was 17 years old, and nobody ever saw me throw. And I really wish that when I'm being honored like this tonight, given this great gift, that there were people out there that actually were in the physical presence of watching me pitch. It would have been something that would warm my heart today, knowing that you knew how I threw. But we didn't have a high school baseball team then, so everything that I accomplished was after I left town. But lastly, I want to close by saying thank you very much. There's no honor that's any greater than your hometown, or in this case, my home high school, and to do this in front of a lot of heroes of mine growing up. Thank you very much.
And next to talk about Benton Hess, who could not be with us, is his high school classmate, and I think a local historian, Judy Keller.
Thank you, Mr. McLucky, and to the Falcon Foundation, thank you again very much. Benton is a composer, pianist, conductor, and teacher who graduated from Connellsville High School in 1965. While in high school, he was a member of the National Honor Society and a 3-year selection to the Fayette County Chorus. And then his senior year, he was chosen to the district chorus and the state chorus. He graduated from the New England Conservatory of Music, and at the age of 21 was named musical director of the opera department at Boston University. He began directing professionally, mentored by impresario Boris Godlowski of the Godlowski Grand Opera Theater. Benton also served as assistant conductor of the opera orchestra for 27 years as he prepared dozens of operas for presentation at New York's Carnegie Hall. He also played rehearsals for the Opera Company of Boston and the Boston Symphony with stars like Joan Sutherland, Beverly Sills, and Placido Domingo. He has also conducted for opera companies in Annapolis, Cleveland, Memphis, St. Paul, Santa Fe, Tulsa, and Mobile, and the Lake George, New York Opera Festival. He has had the privilege to work with some of the greatest singers of the 20th century, including Renee Fleming, Carlo Bergonzi, Nikolai Geda, and Alfredo Kraus. He has played or conducted in some of the greatest concert halls in the world, including the Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall in New York City, the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., Tchaikovsky Hall in Moscow, and the Bolshoi Hall in St. Petersburg. He has been an instructor at both the New England and Boston Conservatory, the Manns College of Music in New York City, Rutgers University, and in 1974 he was named Distinguished Professor to the Eastman School of Music as their senior vocal coach and musical director of the Eastman Opera Theater. Benton has also done extended residencies at Ohio University, the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and the Royal Conservatories of Copenhagen, Oslo, and Glasgow. For 12 summers, he was the conductor of the International Vocal Arts Institute in Tel Aviv, and he founded, established, and still maintains Si Parla, Si Canta, an Italian language program for young singers in Arona, Italy. Benton wants to apologize for his absence today, but he has just returned from Brazil to his home in New York and is ready again to depart for Lithuania. He wants everyone to know that his musical parents started him off in the right direction when he started playing the piano at the age of 5. and he has fond memories of all his teachers at Connellsville High School, but makes special mention of his choral director, Mr. Robert Munden, and English teachers Catherine Zimmerman and Eleanor Rowland. He believes his career has been a composite of all his experiences because, as he puts it, he was in the right place at the right time. Benton wants to express his deepest gratitude to the Falcon Foundation for this honor, and I accept on his behalf. Thank you.
I'll see if I can get that. Okay, our next honoree is the Silver Fox from Coatesville, Pennsylvania, and to do the honors will be Kenny Washington again.
They're overworking me today. Ross Hershey was a track and field coach. So for the second year in a row, I have the honor of introducing an outstanding individual. Last year it was Wilmer Burkholder, who happened to be my track coach. Ross attended and graduated from Dunbar Township High School, class of 1950. From high school, he went to Temple University and earned a BA degree. Then he attended Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where he earned his teaching certification. And this is where his story really begins. In 1956, Ross embarked on a teaching career which currently stands at 57 years. I have to think about that a little bit, 57 years. 42 years at Coatesville High, 11 years at Widener University, and currently 4 years at Immaculata University. This accomplishment in and of itself deserves high praise, especially in light of today's academic world, but Ross decided to become a coach. Don't let anybody tell you that being a coach is easy. It's always tough. What is easy, however, is being given the opportunity to interact with students on a much different level in a classroom atmosphere. Coaching takes you where students want to be. At Coatesville High School, Ross coached 28 years of varsity basketball. His team statistics, a 462-129 record, which is 78% winning percentage. 12 Chester Montgomery League championships and 1 district championship. So of course, the basketball facility at Coatesville High School has been renamed the Ross Hershey Gymnasium. Ross coached 18 years of varsity track and field. His team statistics, a 103-1 record, 2 District 1 championships, 1 state championship, 1 Eastern United States championship. They didn't rename the track in his name, but they probably should have. Needless to say, Ross was recognized repeatedly for these accomplishments. He is a member of the following: Pennsylvania State Athletic Hall of Fame, the City of Coatesville Hall of Fame, Coatesville High School Sports Hall of Fame, Chester County Sports Hall of Fame, Pennsylvania State Track and Field Hall of Fame, and I think there were a few others, so I apologize, Ross, for not knowing what they are. Today we want to add one more accolade to Ross's list: the Connellsville Area School District Falcon Foundation Hall of Fame. And I request, Ross, I have a request. If you don't mind, when you come up here, could you please tell us who the team was that you lost to in 18 years? Because I'm curious. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ross Hershey.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
McCaskey High School of Lancaster, PA. 1961. I'd like to thank the Falcon Foundation for honoring a kid from Dunbar Township High School. I would also like to share the award this evening with my fiancée, Dee Rajevich. When I was the coach at Coatesville, she was a cheerleader. Does that strike a chord with some people? Also, for the person who recommended me for this honor, Tony Scaloni and her son Vincent. They are here this evening with me. My success in coaching came in eastern Pennsylvania, but my roots and my value systems were formed here in Fayette County. I was raised in Trotter, a company town. We lived in the company house. We bought at the company store. Some of you old timers may have to explain those terms to some of the young people. Company town, company house, company store. The best definition I ever heard of a company house was 4 rooms and a path. I didn't say bath, I said path. My father was a coal miner. He worked in the mines for 46 years until black lung killed him, a thing that happened to many miners in the early days. But he did that so my sister could become a nurse and I could become a teacher and a coach. I hope you notice I mentioned teacher first. After I graduated from Temple, I went to Indiana University, went back to check on my credentials, and the fellow said, "You're fine, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to teach social studies and coach basketball." And I left. 15 minutes later, he got a call from the superintendent of schools at Coatesville, who asked, "Do you have anyone in social studies who could coach basketball?" And that's a true story. That's how I wound up in Coatesville. You don't know much about Coatesville? That's okay, neither did I. But Coatesville is a city of 12,500. It's located in Chester County. It's 38 miles west of Philadelphia. However, do you know Brownsville, Denora, Monessen, Monongahela, Clairton, Charleroi? Then you know Coatesville. It's a steel town that has seen better days. At one time, the steel mill in Coatesville employed 6,500 workers. Now it employs less than 800. And because of that, we've had white flight. Coatesville is largely a black community, a Latino community, but we got tough kids there. And they were successful in athletics as well as academics. I had a successful career in Coatesville for one reason. We had very good athletes. If you want to make potato salad, you need potatoes. Ask any coach. It isn't the X's and O's, it's the Johnnies and Joes who win the games. But as I said, I worked very hard with my teaching and my coaching, and I never let one surpass the other. I tried to be a good teacher and a good coach. Many of you who at times see Notre Dame playing UConn in a basketball game, a girls' game, and see 25,000 people in the stands. Are you aware that it all started at Immaculata, where I'm teaching now, who won the first 3 national championships at Immaculata? They had a coach named Kathy Rush, whose husband officiated in the NBA. And they had a crowd of 25 people, mostly nuns, who saw Immaculata play at the time. But I want to make one thing clear to anyone in the class, in this auditorium, in the gathering this evening, who may be a teacher, who may be a coach. The reason I had a successful career in Coatesville is I found out something very early about Coatesville students. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's very critical for anyone who wants to be a teacher or a coach. I'm very proud of the fact that I was a teacher for, and still am, for 57 years, and I plan to continue as long as I can. Thank you very much for the honor this evening. I'm very proud of that. As I said, it's always good to be honored by your hometown, and Fayette County and Connellsville will always be my hometown. Thank you very much.
One thing I recall from Tony's nomination, that they give an award as Teacher of the Year at Coatesville, and it's called the Ross Kirchie Teacher of the Year Award. Okay, last but not least, talk about William H. Swan Jr. We all know that unfortunately Bill's not with us here this evening. First thing I'd like to ask, how many knew Bill Swan? How many would call Bill Swan your friend? And you know, that's just the way it was. To know Bill Swan was to be a friend of Bill Swan. I like the way Kelly started this plaque off, which said, William H. Swan Jr. lived his life for God, family, friends, and his community, because that's the Bill Swan that I know. Moving down a little bit, and again, I refer you to the booklet. Excelled in football and track at Connellsville Joint High School. You know, and as a kid, I used to love to get down and watch the track meets. When Bill was in high school, we had Bo Scott and we had Bill Swan. And Bo was under 10 seconds in 100 in high school, but I'll tell you what, right at his heels for the 100-yard dash and also for the 220, which back then was on the straightaway, was Bill Swan, and together made, with two other guys, a very good 880 relay team. He went on to Otterbein University, and I want you to note the point in the middle there, held the 100-meter dash for years, running in 9.7 seconds on a cinder track at Otterbein. Now, the reason I bring that up, and I wanted to ask Andrew, what did you run the 100 in? And I asked that because I coached Billy in basketball, and I watched Timmy play football, and they must have taken after their mother. Moving down, long time business owner, Swan's Appliance and Furniture. How many ever shopped at Swan's Appliance and Furniture? You know, when you went in there, Bill had a heck of a personality, and he could talk, and he could sell a dog bone to a cat. I remember one thing, and we've got a little bit ahead of schedule, so bear with me. We used to live out on the south side, first home we ever owned, and we had floors that Becky worked very, very hard on, hardwood floors. And she says, you know, we need some area rugs to accentuate the floor. And I said, well, let's go down to Swan's and see what we can find. We walk in, and of course, Bill's there, friendly as can be, and Becky explains what she wants. He goes, I got just what you need. That day, we purchased wall-to-wall carpeting, upstairs and downstairs. And I think we made the final payment the year that Bill graduated from Westminster. Going down a little bit further, you can see where Bill was honored by the Chamber of Commerce in Connellsville, Service Award in 2000, Distinguished Citizen 2012. And of course, a couple other things listed there. Active member of Otterbein United Methodist Church. A lot of people don't put their church on their plaque, but with Bill, it's totally appropriate. Those of us that call ourselves friends of Bill, we know that in the conversations that took place, he continually would talk about church, God, working at the community center, and so on and so forth. That was a big part of his life. He was as ornery as could be. He could tell a dirty joke. He could listen to one, and then he could talk about his preacher in the next sentence. I'd like to go to where it says volunteer at the Holmes Area Community Ministries. Aside from his family, and I mean, he's very, very proud of Andrea's career as a teacher, very, very proud of his children, and later on, you know, his grandchildren as well. But he really, really took pride in working down at that community ministries, serving food to people less fortunate than him and less fortunate than all of us. And you know, the thing that's really, really nice, we all raised our hands. We were friends of Bill Swan. Those people that if you would go down past the community ministries, you see those people waiting in line to pick up food. They were his friends too. And Bill looked at them on the same level as he would look at you and I. They were that dear to him. Many, many times he'd stop by my house, you know, how's Becky, how's this, how's that, and then invariably he would talk about what was going on at the community ministries, and he'd say, you know, the others get mad at me because I end up giving out more than what I'm supposed to. He goes, but you know, you have somebody in line, and he goes, I think of all that I have, and they want an extra can of peaches. He goes, I give it to them. The others, they get mad because everybody wants to be in his line instead of theirs. But Kelly's last line, Bill was a proud member of Connellsville community where he lived, worked, and served. You know, we've talked a little bit about sports here today, and you know, there's a phrase, you know, you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. Bill was a guy when it came to family, friends, Connellsville, Hempfield, or his faith. He would talk the talk. But I'll tell you what, he also walked the walk. And you know, I want to give the family credit to the day of his funeral. And I know that was a sad day, but it was also a celebration of a life well lived. And at this point, I'll call up young Bill Talk.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you. Thanks to Kelly and our family for nominating Dad. Thanks to Coach McGlucky for the introduction. Thank you to Andrea. I'm not going to look up and look at her right now, but this was different for me. I've never been asked to give a talk for somebody else. I got to talk about that at the Community Ministries Food Bank dedication. I got to speak at his funeral, but I never spoke on behalf of somebody, so I really didn't know how to do this. So most of it's going to be what I think my dad would say. He would thank Andrea, Kelly, Amy, and Tim, Susan, Ralph, and Mark, all his grandchildren, his Swan Drive family, his mom and dad. Jeez, I didn't think I was going to get upset. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Okay. His 3 sisters, Marjorie, Linda, and Judy. All his buddies he grew up with. His Otterbein buddies. You know, his adult buddies. I'm done. Give me 1 second. Whew. Okay, I'm good. You know what's neat is, Coach, I felt like I grew up knowing Coach Burkholder. He used to talk about him all the time. So when I would lay watching TV the last couple of weeks, I Googled everything about the Falcon Foundation. I saw that Coach Burkholder was inducted last year, and it said he had 35 years perfect attendance as a teacher. How awesome is that? You know, now I know my dad worshiped that guy. Funny story. I'm proud. I was thinking about everybody in here, or just everybody, all my buddies in my life. The 2 nicest ladies in the world that I know are my wife and my mom. I'm very, very lucky to say that. Not many people can pull off that feat. I say that every year at our basketball banquet. I dare all of you players to get the wife that I have. It's almost impossible. So I bring those 2 up because we were riding around in the car one day, and I said to Suze, I don't know what I'm going to say about Dad. And she says, well, Billy, why? Why did your dad make the Hall of Fame? And I said, I don't know if it was for a particular reason. And she looked at me in the car and she said, well, not just any Joe Schmo makes that Hall of Fame. And what a great line, because not just any Joe Schmo makes this Hall of Fame the last 10 years. And the funny story about my mom was she called me one day and I called her back and she says, Billy, I'm at Vona's buying chipped ham. I got to ask you something, sweetheart. I said, go ahead, Mom, whatever you need. And she says, well, we already have 10 people at the family table. And do you mind sitting somewhere else? And you have to sit with Johnny Coleman and Jimmy Joe Limbo. That's not a bad consolation prize. This is my only public service announcement, and this is going to be Little Bill talking. I was here 3 years ago and honored to be invited and sit at the table when Jimmy Limbo made this Hall of Fame. And I'm standing up here next to my coaching idol, Coach McGlucky, and I'm just told a story about Johnny Coleman and Andrea Swan. Johnny Coleman, Andrea Swan, and Coach McGlucky are, in my opinion, definite Hall of Fame members for the Connellsville School District, no doubt. And I hope to sit here someday for all 3 of them. We grew up, talked about Bo Scott. Jimmy Limbo was saying how Dad used to brag how we beat Bo Scott a few times. The core group of my dad's friends, I loved how Mrs. Cunha did that, so I'm going to steal just a little bit of that. The core group of my dad's friends growing up, Barry Maruka, who talk about small world when Susan and I moved back to Connellsville in 1995. We moved on to 811 Isabella Road, and that's where the Marukas all grew up. Our boys slept in the same bedrooms that the Marukas used to climb out the windows and run around South Side, they told me. Joe Mancuso, who's here, my dad's lifelong buddy. And a funny story about a guy named Herbie Ellis, who I believe was the quarterback, right, Joe? When you guys played. I'm at Westminster enjoying a Sunday afternoon in 1987, and I'm in my dorm room just probably resting up from studying on a Sunday, and my door in Russell Hall Barge is open. I'm laying on a beanbag watching Antenna TV, and some guy busts in my dorm room and says, "You Billy Swan?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He says, "I'm Herbie Ellis." He went to Westminster, right? He was up there, and he made sure he looked me up. And in a 1960 grad, they all were, so I know how important the reunions were to my dad. My mom and dad always host a party the night before their reunions. That's how important they are to them. So this summer coming up would be Dad's 60th class reunion. So I'm sure the classmates will miss him and tell great stories. Real quick about track. Bobby talked about humility. And I know my dad had great humility, but I have to tell this story. It's neat what you can do online today. He ran a 9.7 100-yard dash. So on Otterbine's website, they have now went and converted those to meters. They even converted it with wind, aid, and all that, and everything. And they ranked the top 10 100 yards and 100 meters ever ran at Otterbein. Now let me tell you this. Dad's 9.7 was converted to 10.84, and that stands 5th all time, still, from 1960, I think 2 or 63. So that's 37, 19, about 56 years, right? That his record still stands as the 5th fastest, and the first fastest is only 1/10 faster. So all the new tracks, all the new shoes, all the new training, all these superstar athletes of today, Dad's record is only 1/10 off, almost 60 years later. His good Otterbein buddy is here, Uncle John Shields. His buddies Dick Shy, Jeannie Cavalier, and Jeannie Kidwell from college. I think that's neat that I hope my son, I don't know if today's generation does this, we do it a little bit, but it's neat how these guys are Uncle John Shields to me, and that's from my dad. That's how I was raised. You know, they were so close to him, they were uncles to us. We have a lot of great uncles. Come in as a customer, leave as a friend. You know, the Swan Drive gang, Bob and Henry, Nino, Bill, George Saniga, Kevin Scheffler, the best joker in town, Bill Bear, Vaughn McDivitt. And I'm going to tell a real quick story about Sam Brooks. Mr. Brooks has a bedroom, and he raised how many kids? And 9, and how many great in-laws, and how many great family members. And Melissa, his daughter, told me at the chamber dinner, he has one picture in his bedroom, and that's of my dad. So that shows you what kind of friends they were. It's amazing the people we've ran into. Salesman, Brian Suter's here tonight, who did it. I just summarize it by saying it's amazing how I am now the accountant for Andrea Swan. I am now the landlord of 3 rentals. We might celebrate tomorrow by selling one of those rentals. And that was Dad's wishes, by the way. But it's amazing how many people I ran into that I asked to do things for us, and how almost every single one of them, they do it for absolutely free. And some of those jobs might be thousands of dollars, and they always say, I would never charge your dad after everything he did for me. And that's pretty cool. That's even people at the tax offices in different places I call. As soon as I say my name, I get whatever. I mean, not that they give me anything, but they give me great service because of Dad. One last funny story about that was we're selling this house. How am I doing? Okay.
We're getting there.
Okay. He told me I had 10 minutes. He took 7 of them. This house out on East End Road, we're trying to sell it, and all of a sudden we got it surveyed, and it turns out like the driveway and the alley is owned by Bullskin. So when I called the lady, she said, "Your dad always said he owned all that." That's a big Bill story if you enjoy that. 2016, Ted Koval was inducted with Jimmy Joe, and I remember Ted's speech, and he talked about one of the first people he met when he came here was Andrea Swan, and how welcoming she was. My mom and dad are ambassadors of Connellsville. You know, there's never, hardly a day goes by I don't meet somebody. I was on a plane, I was here, I was there, and somebody said Connellsville, and I said Swans, and everybody knows them. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad for the kids, but that's pretty awesome. Our cousin took a video, some of you were on it, at the funeral, and people waited in line for 2 hours and they interviewed him. And the things they said about Dad were unforgettable, a friend, and a great man. And that sums it all up. To everybody that was honored tonight, congratulations. Coach Hershey, you now became on my list of idols too from Connellsville. I'm proud to say that I'm a basketball coach from Connellsville. I lose almost as many games in a year that you lost in a career though. So you gotta maybe write some things down for me. But from everybody in our family, thank you.
Tell you what, there's a picture too. No, I'll get that. There's pictures here. Take that. Thanks, Chris. You're gonna pass those out. Okay, that pretty much sums up our program. The members of the Hall of Fame, everybody kind of understand. Joe and Susan, did you want to get a picture? Okay, we'll take that right out near the trophy case as soon as we leave here, and then we'll load up in the cars and we'll get down to the stadium. But really in pretty good shape time-wise. Again, we'll be dropped off near the end zone. And short walk to the 50-yard line. Just bear with me for just a minute. To our Hall of Fame members, once again, I just say congratulations for all you accomplished. Very happy that through this Hall of Fame, you know, what you've accomplished in your life will be remembered, appreciated, and I'll tell you, I think most importantly, with that display up at the high school, some of you will be an inspiration to the young people of this community going forward. Thank you so much. Everybody be safe going home. Thanks for being here.